This episode of Your Morning Drive is brought to you by Fireworks Co-working. They are a creative co-working space located in Marietta, Georgia, focused on supporting the local community and uplifting creative entrepreneurs. If you want to try out this beautiful space, this podcast room is just one of the many available rooms and spaces available for you and your company to work at. If you want to try them, you can. Use code DRIVE at checkout and you'll get a free day pass. So, if you're working from home, if you're working at an office that you don't have to go to, if you're tired of working at your kitchen table where you have to listen to your kids or your spouse or the lawn people in the outside cutting the grass and it's too loud for your Zoom meetings. Well, you don't have to worry about that. You can try out Fireworks Co-working in Marietta, Georgia. It's right down the street from Kennestone Hospital. They are the presenting sponsor of Your Morning Drive. They offer me a beautiful space for me to be able to record my podcast with all of the creators, business owners, and other individuals that I get the pleasure of interviewing, and they can be your home too. So either go to the space, tour the place with the staff, tell them Logan Lewis from Your Morning Drive sent you, or if you're booking online, again, use code DRIVE, DRIVE, for a free day pass to try the space. Your Morning Drive is also present to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink canned format for any occasion, whether it's a pool day, a boat day, a beach day, a graduation, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, anything in between. Good Days are there for you. Good Days are ahead when they are in your cooler, your fridge, your anything in between. Good Days has your back. If you want to be one of the first to try their drink, you can do so by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find-us to find a store near you selling their drink. Of course, you must be 21 years of age to consume and purchase. Hey, friends. Another partner of this podcast are the Patch Boys of North Atlanta. If you need top-notch drywall repair and renovation services, the Patch Boys of North Atlanta have you covered. With almost 300 five-star Google reviews, they're a fully insured, locally owned father and son team committed to quality. Their expert technicians deliver seamless repairs, and with the Reno Boys, they handle everything from drywall to full renovations. Plus, they give back by partnering with the Center for Family Resources to reduce childhood homelessness. Trust the Patch Boys of North Atlanta to take care of your home, start to finish. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Your Morning Drive. I am Logan. I am your host today. I am live from the Fireworks studio in Marietta, Georgia. My guest is remote. We'll get to her in a quick second. Before we do that, if you enjoy the show here, make sure you send it to at least one friend who needs a new podcast to start their day. If you want to send them a link where they can listen, you can send them one on Apple or Spotify, or you can send them one on YouTube as well if they want to watch in full. You can follow along on social media on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. The big four for social media updates, clips, episode announcements, everything in between. And of course, all of those handles are just at Your Morning Drive. Same with Apple, YouTube, and Spotify, just at Your Morning Drive. And you should see our little logo with the coffee cup come up. And it's as simple as that. My guest today is a true helper and defender of mankind, living out the meaning of that role shared by the transformative power of MFR. After a personal experience with back pain led to incredible results through MFR, she pursued specializing in specialized training in John F. Barnes's method, helping clients naturally relieve and avoid pain. Her passion for healing extends to teaching and empowering others to embrace pain-free living. Outside of work, she enjoys riding with her spirited horse Bacardi, practicing gentle horsemanship, hiking with her dogs, and indulging in medical dramas. Please welcome Alex LaPierre.
Yeah, thank you so much, Logan. I'm overjoyed to join your morning drive podcast and offer some insight into how helpful myofascial release, the John F. Barnes method in particular, can be for your listeners.
Yeah, I'm super excited, mainly because I don't know, out of everything that I just read, I really don't know what any of that means.
That's
So,
okay.
before we dive deep into what those
Yes.
things are, but just I guess besides what I just read off, tell me and the world kind of just a little bit about you, some background, your childhood, if that affected, your path in which you've taken your career today, all those things.
Okay. Yeah, so that defender of mankind, that's the definition of the name Alex. I learned that at a super young age, and it just resonated very deeply early on. I've always been passionate about helping people. I was that little kid in my grandfather's yard asking him what I could do to help in the garden and just always helping. And I knew I wanted to do that as a career, but it took me a few years to figure out what that looked like. So I grew up on the south side of Atlanta. I joke, but there's some reality to this that I survived the ghetto. I grew up in Clayton County, Georgia, and
Wow.
I didn't realize the amount of stress that I carried in my body just from that. Grew up in a single parent household, watched my mom struggle to put food on the table, didn't realize the amount of stress I was holding from that. And I took that into my late teens, early 20s. And I remember laying down on the bed um, in high school one day, when I was in high school, rather, and just the act of laying flat took my breath away. And I said, why? Like, why does my body hurt so bad? I had no answers. So ultimately, I still wanted to help. I thought I wanted to explore equine assisted psychotherapy or hippotherapy routes because horses have always been an interest of mine. And those doors just didn't quite open the way I'd hoped. I ended up at Berry College in Rome, Georgia. Just loved the atmosphere and really felt like that would catapult me to great places, and it certainly has. And while I was in college, I came across the grant writing career. And as I did my research, I understood that grant writing is really a smaller portion of fundraising as a whole. So I have a small career in fundraising as my background. I worked for a small museum in Albany, Georgia, out of college, Thronatiska Heritage Center, and got started grant writing there. Moved on to Fernbank Museum of Natural History for about a year in Atlanta, and then moved into the university system to do some fundraising in that sphere and realized I hit a wall. I just hit a wall in my 20s. I was extremely depressed. I was having trouble segueing into that new job, and I walked away after a month and was supported enough at that time to reinvent my career. And my best friend basically said, look, I am going to kick your butt if you don't go back and learn how to work with horses. And so I had a mentor that popped up in my life, and this horse that I have who was struggling himself. And I was able to see his personality completely change with body work. When he got worked on, he became kinder and sweeter and more interested in connecting with me from being to being. And I said, there's something to this. So I went to become certified in equine massage, and I worked on horses for a bit and was still dealing with my own back pain, and it was getting progressively worse. And finally started looking into some options for myself. I tried traditional massage therapy, I tried chiropractic, and landed on a John Barnes therapist's table when I was about 27. This was the year 2018. After 3 months in physical therapy and pulling my back out 3 times in 3 months in physical therapy, and my mind was blown, because after working with this massage therapist who specialized in myofascial release, I stood up from the table and I felt stronger. And we hadn't worked on any strength training. So that's
Wow.
the story of how I'm where I am now, if you will, in a nutshell.
What where's the back pain for you come from? Have you always had it? Was it a genetic thing? Did you injure yourself when you were writing? Like what caused this back pain that you struggled so hard with?
It was a combination of several factors. So, what I understand to be true now was the combination of the stress I endured in my childhood and holding my body so tense and trying to be protective against this chaos around me was a huge component, right?
Hmm.
The book bags that we carried in school that weighed at least a third of our weight, if not more, were atrocious. I had textbooks that I'm sure contributed.
Sure.
Sitting for hours a day didn't help. I've had several falls. I slipped on concrete when I was 16. Didn't have any health insurance. Couldn't go get it looked at. Hit my hip
Hmm.
pretty hard. And a few other traumatic episodes here and there. Just it all culminated. And what Myofascial Release has offered is a way to peel back the layers of those incidents and those traumatic episodes and those layers of stress, to offer softness in the body that gets rid of the pain.
Interesting. Interesting. So since you brought it up, this is a good segue. Tell me all about MFR. I mean, what does any of that mean?
So MFR is short for Myofascial Release. And Myofascial Release, as therapists that specialize in that, we essentially work on the connective tissue of the body. So an easy way to think about this that's often referenced is if you peel an orange, you've got little segments and you've got the white parts of the orange and the film over all the little juicy segments. All the white part and the film, that's all connective tissue. That's all fascia. So our muscles and our bones and our joints, our arteries, every part of our body has this wrapping, this casing that's like saran wrap or that white connective tissue in an orange. And what happens when we endure trauma, whether it is mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, you name it, that tissue gets dehydrated and it gets stuck and adhered to itself and to other parts of the body. So, what we do as therapists is we come into the body and we put gentle pressure into the system. And it's that gentle pressure that rehydrates those layers and allows them to start gliding over one another again.
Interesting. Very interesting. So I've never heard of MFR before. Is it something that's super widely known or practiced in the healthcare world, or is this kind of like a small niche that's kind of trying to burst out as more frequent type of care? Or is it a very frequent type of care and I've just never been in the right circles to hear it mentioned?
All of those are probably true. So, to answer that question, more awareness is growing, and that's really exciting. I had the opportunity to participate or serve as a vendor at the Think Pink event in downtown Canton just yesterday. And I actually had a physician, I want to say the company is Georgia Breast Care, come over to me and ask me to come teach her nurses, because this method, this work is so needed, particularly for post surgical patients, because the scar tissue from surgery locks up the body and the tissue becomes dehydrated. Um, so to answer your question about how well known it is, it's a specialty. There are only about 10 of us in the state of Georgia that specialize in the John Barnes particular method. And I mention this method because it is the only method I have come across that really recognizes the body mind connection. Thomas Myers fascial trains, anatomy fascial trains, or anatomy trains, I should say. He's fantastic. He does dissections.
Mm-hmm.
He hosts dissections in Colorado, and he's got a lot of really hard hitting scientific evidence and data of how the body parts are linked, and there are different trains and fascial connective pathways, and that's all wonderful as well. But we know, studying the Barnes method, that there is a particular body mind connection that also needs to be honored, and so we focus a lot on that. There's a lot of trauma awareness and facilitation for healing around that within this particular sphere. So there's about 10 of us in the state that are specialists, and there are more medical providers that are becoming aware of it. The trouble with that side is our Western medical sphere is very clean cut, A, B, C, D, linear, and the physicians and the nurses and just don't get a lot of time with their clients. One
Mm-hmm.
element of this method is that it takes time. We sink into the body and we wait. It takes 3 to 5 minutes for fascia to begin to soften. If your provider has 15 minutes to talk to you and get your health history and write a prescription, they may not feel like they have enough time. They do. They
Mm-hmm.
do. But I'm so excited to talk to you on this podcast because I want our medical system to understand that even just a little bit of pressure into the system can help. Just that presence can
Yeah.
help.
Yeah. I feel like the doctor, I mean, it's just so, I mean, it's just such a weird system where, you know, you wait sometimes for 20 or 30 minutes and then you get in there and you're talked to for 10 minutes. And then they're like, all right, well, it sounds like this is what you've got. And then they give you a prescription and then you move on.
Yep.
And sometimes it's not really about like addressing the issue. Well, I'm sorry. It's not even like trying to dissect the issue. It's like, oh, here's how
Yeah.
to make it go away. And it's like, that's cool and all. And I appreciate that. But there's another side of things that it doesn't have to be a prescription. There can be other methods of healing. And this sounds like this is one
It
of them.
really is. And I love that you pointed out that tendency for our culture medically to provide something that makes it go away. Sometimes what we need is to really look at what's going on, right? And that's a complete
Right.
opposite idea, right? But if we, for example, imagine a thorn in a toe, like isn't there a little fable about a mouse and a
Yeah.
lion, and the lion's got the thorn in his paw, and the mouse comes in, once the lion promises not to eat him and is able to get the thorn.
Yeah.
If we keep putting salve on the thorn, that never actually gets the thorn out of the system, right?
Yeah.
And so, as MFR practitioners, I guess we're the mice. We come in and say, hey, don't be mad at us, but we're going to poke this because we want you to understand what's going on. And for example, if you've held tension in your shoulders for years and you've taken something to anesthetize that, the reason for that tension has never been uncovered, right? So the problem has never been
Mm-hmm.
truly addressed.
This is true. This is true. Now, a couple times we've mentioned John Barnes. Are there other versions of MFR that are practiced? We talk about. We've mentioned this guy's name a few times. Does he have a specific method in which that he operated, or is he just the most famous person that has come up with MFR? Like, what's
Yeah,
his deal?
no, excellent question. So he is the practitioner that I have heavily studied under. There absolutely are other methods, and I'm glad you asked that question because I want people to find body work and methods that resonate with them. I just left. I'll wrap back around to John Barnes in a minute, but I just attended something called Spinning Babies, which may be a whole nother can of worms to open up. But one of the myofascial release techniques, principles, ideologies that they heavily endorse, my understanding, is something called body balancing. I've also heard something about a zero balancing method recently. There are other forms of myofascial release, but the chief characteristics that I'm familiar with, that I've learned through the John Barnes method, is steady pressure into the system and a true presence and an awareness that we as therapists train to embody. John, in particular, John Barnes, his story is summed up like this. He actually broke his back weightlifting as a teenager. He was by himself. He was a former gymnast. He got sort of pinned under a set of weights, from what I understand, and he tried to back roll out of it, and it broke his back between his sacrum and his lumbar region. So he had surgery. Didn't really have an option at that point. Got out of surgery, went through physical therapy school, was holding his clients up with one arm and his own back with another, because the traditional physical therapy methods just didn't get him where he needed to be. So he started working with his own fascial system. He's traveled all over the world. He's studied with a variety of professionals with Oriental medicine and acupuncture and all of this to kind of come up with the method that he instructs us in today. It's heavily informed by so many other modalities. But it really comes down to three basic principles: that sinking into the body, that body-mind connection, and holding space for what we call unwinding, which could be emotional release, it could be physical movement, could be anywhere in between. And we also offer this gentle rocking motion that we call rebounding, which is really, really nice. And it's something we also did in Spinning Babies this past week. It really calms the nervous system and creates space in the joints. But yes, to answer your question, there are other modalities that focus on the fascia of the body. They just may approach it a little bit differently. And I just am particularly informed about the John Barnes method, but I do think it's valuable to pull in tidbits here and there from other sectors and other physicians and osteopaths and chiropractors that have looked at this particular material in the body, the fascia.
Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. How is MFR something that the patient, the user, the person, whatever, can do on their own? Or is it a situation like where you would go to the chiropractor, you go to the this, you go to the that? Is Emma, is, you know, someone like yourself, am I coming to see you for you to perform it on me? Or is it something that people can do at home
That's
as
a
well?
super awesome question. So, a little bit of both. A lot of what I do with my clients is actually teach them how to work with their own fascial system so that they can build upon the results we get in session. I always tell my clients, my goal is to actually get you off my table. I don't want to see you all the time. You know, I'm happy to work with people on a monthly basis if that feels right for them, and I get treated monthly. But I also use my body a lot and sense that the maintenance is helpful. So, but all that to say, there's a lot that we can do for ourselves. And one of my goals within the next year is to actually create more online platforms where I can teach people how to decompress their entire fascial system. I'm currently offering quarterly free clinics at the libraries, kind of like a yoga class. You come in with your yoga mat and your bottle of water, and I provide everyone a treatment tool. And I've got one right here. It's a soft ball that's about 3 to 4 inches wide. And this gentle input into the system, you can lay on the ball and it'll open up your fascial system where you have knots and where you have tension. And so I show my clients how to do that uniquely for them, because each one of us has a different story and a different layout to our bodies and our fascial system. So we have to approach ourselves uniquely, moment to moment, day to day. So yeah, both. You know, they can work with a professional, and or there's a lot they can do for themselves.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. That's really cool. I've not once, and this is probably not great for me, but I have never once been to the chiropractor. I've never even gotten a massage, not because I'm avoiding it, but I just haven't. And my wife goes weekly to the chiropractor. Um, and she's always like, you need to get on this, you need to do it, you need to, you need to go more often, because I feel like I really do need it. But it's just one of those things that I also am the worst example, because I'm one of the worst of taking care of myself. I'm like, that'll wait, or that can wait, or yeah, sure, whatever. Um, but I feel like I
I
feel
can
like I should get
totally
on it.
relate to that, Logan. My nickname in high school was Grandma Alex because I served everybody before I served myself. I would carry snacks and I would give them away and I would listen to everyone's challenges. And I just absorbed so much of that stuff. And I recognize now that a lot of that was because I wasn't filling my own cup. And a lot of the pain that I was experiencing was that I wasn't filling my own cup. And we really can't pour from an empty cup. We have to fill our own cup. So, if I know I listened to a few of your episodes, and if I remember correctly, video games are a thing for you. Just kind of playing mindlessly. That's great.
Sure.
If that fills your cup, enjoy it. Make sure you're propped up on the couch and you're nice and comfy, and have at it. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
I love that comment, because quite literally, as you were answering it, I was thinking about how we've had a very busy weekend this weekend. We're very social. We had a Halloween
Yeah,
party last night. So just been very,
yeah,
very social, and not a lot of
got
like
it.
me time. And my wife said, "Oh, maybe tonight we can do this or we can do that." And you just said, "Pour into your
Yes,
own cup." And I've been wrestling with that
yes,
thought all morning, because I didn't want to
sure.
disappoint her. But I might get home and be like, you know what? I think I need to fill my cup back up this
I think you're
afternoon.
right. And at the end of the day, we can only give ourselves in relationship as much as we have restored ourselves too. So, yeah, fill
I
your
love
cup. Are
that.
you
I
are
love that.
you
Look at that.
introverted? Are you extroverted? Do you know where you sort of exist on that continuum?
Hey guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the company that makes your morning drive happen every week. Are you looking to elevate your business and your brand? Hammerhead Creations is here to help. They offer top tier marketing services, including social media management, website design, and Google page optimization, ensuring your business reaches the right audience. Whether it's a side hustle or your full time grind, their expert team, me, is ready to help you grow. Plus, if you're into podcasting like me, Hammerhead Creations offers full support for both in house shows and external podcast creation. From concept to production, we will help you bring your ideas to life. Visit www.hammerheadcreations.com and discover how we can take your business or your podcast or both to the next level. Hammerhead Creations, swim with the big sharks. Alex, that's a tough question, because I kind of both. I'm very, very
Okay.
social. Um, but until about the last year or so, I felt like that socialness kind of never wore
Interesting.
off. However, on a weekend like this weekend, where we're either going to celebrate this or we're hosting that, or it gets to the point, especially like I do a lot of my podcast recordings on Sundays. So even after you, I have
Got it.
another one. And I just know that this afternoon I'm going to get home and I'm going to be like,
Sure.
don't talk to me. Like I want to go and do
Yeah.
exactly what you said,
Yeah.
curl up in a ball, um, play some video games, and just kind of recharge before going back to work tomorrow. And I think that's really important, because I do think we live in a society where, you're looked at funny if you aren't social, or you aren't out and about doing this or involved with that, or attending this or being a guest at that. I feel like we all need some time to, like you just said, like we have to fill up our own cup. I really like that fill up your own cup. I
Well,
like
you're
that.
hitting the nail on the head just talking about society in general. And I feel like a lot of what I have done for myself through finding my specialty and what I do for my clients is help them to recognize their innate rhythms. We all have our rhythms of how social we want to be, of how much we want to work until we need a little break or a longer break. And societally, just beginning at school age, we're taught to sit and be quiet and do the thing and write the math problem or the English paper or whatever it is and produce. We're coached into being producers that like machines. Even machines bug out, right? Like they get viruses and we go, I wonder what'll help this. 9 times out of 10, if you turn the stupid thing on and off or off and on, it'll reset, right? But how often do we recognize that we need
Yeah.
to do that for ourselves? We don't. We push and we push and we push until our bodies break. And then that's when a lot of people come into me saying, I've gone from doctor to doctor to doctor. Logan, I had a client this morning that has seen upwards of 10 different physicians for the pain that he's carrying, and nobody's got an answer, right? But he's pushing through. He's pushing through. What else can you do? And you come into my office and I say, okay, let's start listening to your body. What's it been telling you for a long time? That's the basics, you know?
Yeah, and that kind of wraps back around to the culture of like the doctor that we were talking about earlier of like doctors just try to give you whatever they can give you to essentially get you to shut up about it. And I mean, it's not that heartless because that sounds really mean, but I mean, essentially, I mean, you're giving someone a prescription so that the pain or the discomfort or the whatever goes away. But like, hey, why do I feel this pain? Like, what am I doing wrong? What what's happening that's out of my control? Maybe there's something genetic going on inside of me or outside of me. Like, what can I do to prevent this from happening? And it just all comes full circle.
It does, and I want to be careful and give some presence to the idea of not demonizing Western medicine. Western medicine
Yeah.
is wonderful at trauma. If I break my leg, I really want somebody to take me to the ER. The
Yeah.
trouble is that most of the Western medical foundation is based on handling trauma. So the tools that Western medicine has are hard hitting, like client has been dealing with massive fungal infection or significant pain or like the tools that are available are available to deal with that acute issue, but societally we have a lot to be talking about in terms of recognizing what our bodies are telling us when it begins to whisper. That was one of the main pieces of guidance I got going into massage school, actually. I recall my instructors saying, you better listen to your body when it whispers, because if you don't, you're going to have to listen when it screams at you, because it'll halt everything. And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, the Eastern methodologies kind of offer us more, the yoga practices and the meditative practices and the tea after dinner and things like that. So much of that can be cup filling, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to transition and talk about
Yeah,
horses. So, where in your story does horses play into you?
awesome question. From as early as I can remember, they were just a thing for me. And it's a discussion amongst us equine enthusiasts. We always joke, you're either born with it or you're not to some degree. Although I do have a really good friend I ride with who didn't start riding horses, I want to say, until maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and she's in her 50s now, I believe. Um, I always loved them. I had a godmother who had a friend who had a pony in her backyard, and they took me for lessons, and I was just grinning from ear to ear just to be out amongst these beings. And so I rode every chance I got growing up, and I didn't own my first horse until I was in my 20s, but that in and of itself was a learning experience. My first horse actually died tragically. She colicked really bad, and we didn't know what was wrong, and we weren't really a candidate to go to the university. So I called the vet 3 times in a weekend, and and she unfortunately didn't make it. But she was bomb proof, and I could put anybody on her, and she was just a wonderful forced horse to have. Midnight, she was a big black Tennessee Walker. And then I ended up with Bacardi, and he was the complete opposite. And it's really funny because when I was a kid, I remember thinking, I'm never going to have a mare because geldings are so much easier to deal with. Well, the two horses I've had have completely proven that incorrect, because my mare was as sweet as can be. And this gelding I got looked at me in my soul and said, you need to get your crap together before you tell me how to get my crap together. I mean, he is something else. I've always joked that his name is Bacardi. He's half Mustang and full of spirit, and he really is. He's got a huge personality. And I brought him home when I was still struggling with some of my back pain. I threw my back out, and I was hosting a conference at my museum job like the week I brought him home. And with all of that going on, I basically threw him in a little paddock and said, okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks. I couldn't touch him by the end of like week and a half of owning him. He'd gone feral on me. So I took him to a trainer, and the trainer grabbed a lead rope and walked into the paddock that I had dropped him off in. My horse took one look at him, pinned his ears, and launched at him. And I'm like looking from the outside going, oh no, oh no. This 6'7" cowboy spins one way, my horse spins another way, and gets corralled into an even smaller enclosure. And the cowboy, his name's Ed Dabney, he's out in East Georgia, out I-20. He looks at me and says, well, I've got a meeting at 2:00 and I don't want to die today, so I'm going to call you with an update in a few days. I said, oh, booger. But it really, getting my horse Bacardi was really the start of helping me to introspect, because horses are herd animals, and they have a very clear dynamic in their herds. Typically, it's the mare who makes all the decisions every day. I learned this from Monty Roberts. The mare says, this is where we're going to eat today. This is how far we're going to travel. This is where we're going to drink. And this is what we're going to do. The stud, or the stallion in the group, is there for protection and getting everybody pregnant. Those are his two jobs. And everybody else, kind of mingles in between. Well, if I was going to be the leader for this horse, I had to recognize that my nervous system from years of stress, growing up on the south side of Atlanta, growing up in a single parent household, was in so much dysfunction. And my horse wasn't having it, because what it stimulated in him was dysfunction. He said, I'm not safe. I can't be with you. I can't take direction from you. So ultimately, he comes into my life. I take him to this trainer, and a week into the training, the trainer brings my horse out, who's now handleable, but it has taken a week to get him handleable. And he says, look, I see what you see in this horse, but he's going to teach you. So I hope you're ready.
Damn. Look at that. How about that?
It's been a journey.
That's sick. I love all that. I am deathly afraid of horses, but it's not like a fear. It's more of like a mutual respect. Like you're a big ass animal and you have every ability to kill me. And I think horses, I think a lot of animals have that sense when whomever they're encountering can fear. I think horses are one of, I know dogs can do it too, but I think horses can also feel you more than you know.
Just that. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that anytime I've encountered a horse, it knows that I'm afraid of it and almost takes advantage of that. I got on the back of a horse. I got on to ride a horse when I was probably 10 or 11 years old, maybe 12. And the horse didn't do anything wrong. It was more the people whose place we were at. Their dog ran from underneath the horse, spooked the horse, and the horse got up on two legs with me on its back. I didn't fall, I don't think. And if I did, I don't remember. Must have hit my head. But since that day, I was like, I'm never getting back on a horse. I'm never doing it again. But more recently, for some reason, I've had an overwhelming desire to
Huh.
get on a horse. I don't know why, but I maybe it's all the Yellowstone I've been
Yes, such
watching.
a good show.
Um, but um, but I've had this overwhelming desire to jump on a horse. So maybe I'll be hopping on a horse here
Yeah,
soon. Who
maybe you and the
knows?
wife can go ride. There's a good program, a trail riding organization in North Canton. I haven't been in a while, but it's called Georgia Frontiers, and that might be a nice place for you
Okay.
guys to go reacquaint yourselves with the outdoors and the ponies.
Hmm. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
write that
Georgia
down.
Frontiers.
Georgia
Yep.
Frontiers.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. We love a
There
good
you
date
go. There you
recommendation.
go.
Alex, in every interview that I do, I ask my guests a set of questions that really just gives me an idea about who they really are outside of their business, outside of what they're passionate about, outside of their craft. And it's just regular, everyday questions. Are you
Let's
ready for
do it,
those?
Logan.
Guys, I want to tell you about another friend of my show, Your Light Marketing. If you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur trying to figure out how to stand out in a crowded market, I want to tell you about Your Light Marketing. These guys are all about helping you create a marketing strategy that's true to who you are without pushing you to follow trends or gimmicks that just don't feel right to you. They specialize in helping people build custom growth plans around their unique story and mission. So if you're tired of trying to be like everybody else and you want to attract the right customers, aka people who really resonate with what you're all about, then this is the team to talk to. Go to www.yourlightmarketing.com to book a free strategy session with them. Trust me, they will help you build a plan that feels authentic to you and gets results. Again, that's yourlightmarketing.com to book that free strategy session call with them. Your Light Marketing. What is your favorite movie?
The Sound of Music.
Oh, that's a good
Yes.
choice. Are you a big
Yeah,
musical girl?
I learned piano at 4 and picked up violin at
Wow.
11 and played all through college, played so many weddings in high school and college, cried at every single one. Yeah, love music.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. What was your first job ever?
My first job ever. My first official job was working for Chick-fil-A. I started at
Okay.
Chick-fil-A in Mount Zion, Georgia, under operator
Okay.
Randy Burgess, the very first day of senior year in high school. And it really was my pleasure to serve every single one of my clients at Chick-fil-A. I loved the company, I loved the culture, and so I actually kind of fought for that job and enjoyed working for the company. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Um, I want you to rank these three things in order of your favorite to your least favorite: queso, guac, and salsa.
That's probably the order I would go with. I love hot melty cheese with some jalapenos, and guacamole is so good. Avocados are really great for you, and salsa's good. It depends. I really like a black bean and corn
Yeah.
salsa. That's one of my favorites.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Um, if you were getting the electric chair
Mm,
tomorrow, what would your last meal on earth be?
that's a morbid thought.
Yes, it is. I had one person respond and say, "Hey, if I was getting uh whatchamacallit, if I was getting the death penalty, I would want the lethal injection." And I was like, "Cool, maybe I'll add that to my question
Oh
list. Hey,
gosh.
if you're getting put to death, how would you like it done?"
Good grief. What would I want my last meal to be? Gosh, some of everything. I love food. I love food. My friends that I ride with, We talk more about the snacks we're going to bring on our trail rides and our camping trips, probably than we do about the logistics of anything else, because food is life
Yeah.
and I'm all about some food. So, probably like, I don't know, steak and mashed potatoes and like something green. Like, I don't, a good steak is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's a really popular answer,
Yeah.
is a nice
Yeah.
steak for their last
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah. Yeah. It resonates.
Understood. Let's imagine that you get to organize your own music festival for you. So, who would your 3 headliners be for a music festival planned for you?
Yay. Um, Gosh, I'm a huge classical music fan. Like Celine Dion at the Olympics was just amazing. So Celine
Yeah.
Dion probably would make that lineup. Um, I really like country music as well. Um, oh gosh, her name is escaping me. Mm,
Is she super
she
popular?
is. She played in Alpharetta recently too. I'm trying to think of what her name is. Yeah,
Lainey
I love
Wilson?
me some Lainey. And
Yeah.
who else? Also Nickelback. So let's kind of balance it
Hell
all
yeah.
out. I love me some Nickelback.
Hell yes. What a good answer that is.
Yeah,
I love that. That's a
yeah,
good lineup. Celine Dion, Nickelback,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Lainey
Gotta keep
Wilson.
it balanced.
There's
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
for
yeah,
everybody
exactly.
there. Heck yeah. That's a fire festival. I'm
Woo!
coming too. Um, on a day where you're not working, and ironically, this is a fun question based on what we've talked about, but what does filling your own cup look like for you? What does a self-care day look like for Alex?
Yeah. So definitely gonna be outside more than likely. Um, I love just being in nature. I love the stillness of nature. I love the wind through the trees and the smell of the grass and the sound of water. So I'm likely going to be outside with my dogs in the woods. If I'm really tired, if my introverted self has been a little too social, I may be wrapped up in a blanket on the couch watching some Netflix, but more than likely I'm going to be outside.
Yeah, I forgot to piggyback off of your question and ask you, are you introverted or extroverted or a little bit of both
I
like me?
am a socially trained extroverted person who's very highly introverted. I've learned how to be extroverted, but I recharge when I'm by myself. I really do. And
Yeah.
I had to tell my boyfriend that. I was like, look, we like to ballroom dance together, social ballroom dance. And
Yeah.
I enjoy doing that, but being out and social can be draining for me. So I really have to balance how much time I get by myself. And so I don't always make all the social engagements, but I feel better when I don't push myself
Sure.
too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. What does success look like to you?
The one word response that comes up is happiness. Are you happy? Success is happiness. Are you content? Do you feel good in your body? I consider myself successful. I consider myself highly successful. Do I have aspirations for my business and my life? Absolutely. But I'm happy. My body feels good. I have good food available, and I have good friends and family, and I have happiness. I have contentment. And that to me is success.
I like that. I like that a lot. Do you know the expression, a hill that you're willing to die on?
I think so. I want to say that's along the lines of, what are you willing to defend? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are you willing to defend? What is a hill that you're willing to die on? It could be a serious one. It could be funny. It could be something that you and your friends talk about, and your friends are like, "You're crazy for thinking this." And you're like, "No, I will fight this to the death." Like last night at the Halloween party, the famous question of, "Do you like candy corn?" came up. And of course, I voted that I will fight that to the death. I love candy corn. I am a psychopath and I know it. So, Alex, what is a topic that you're willing to die on?
I really wish I had a funny answer for this, but my answer is more serious. And
Hit me.
the hill that I am willing to die on is that there is no replacement for touch. There's absolutely no replacement for touch in healthcare, in society, in just being a human being. We need more presence and more touch to help people heal.
I like that. That's a really good answer. What is your biggest fear,
Ah!
Alex?
What is my biggest fear? I guess it just comes back to not being able to help. I want to help everybody out there. I want people to realize that if they're in pain right now, they don't have to be. If they're struggling, they don't
Yeah,
have to be. There's light on the other side of their struggle. And, I fear not being able to reach them, I suppose. So I'm so thankful to you for the opportunity to share so much of this on the podcast waves.
hell yeah. Hell yeah. And then lastly, Alex, what not what, but rather where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Where's your business? Where are you? Where is your personal life? Where are you in 10 years
Yeah,
from
I'm
now?
excited about that question. So, I love being outside. I love nature. I love animals. I see myself personally on a little homestead, learning how to can things and playing with ponies and just enjoying nature and enjoying family. My business, my goal right now is to build the business. I'm hiring a physical therapist on beginning in January so that we'll have one more day a week that clients can come in and receive my Barnes Myofascial Release. I want to fill this office. I want to branch out into a bigger office and maybe create some retreat space for clients to come to, because there's something to be said for getting out of our day to day container and going into something that is much more comfortable for us to heal. So that's
I
kind
agree.
of where I'm headed, both personally and professionally.
I love that. I love that. Alex, is there any other point you want to make about any of the stuff that we've talked about? Anything that you want to urge people to do or to consider or to think about when they're in pain and they need help and they maybe are sick of the way that their current experience have left them in the medical field, have given them, maybe they get a prescription that makes the pain go away for 4 or 5 days and then it comes back and they're seeking more advice or they feel helpless or whatever. What can you say to those folks?
The biggest thing I can offer is for those folks to find someone who will listen. You know, I genuinely believe most of us that go into the healthcare field want to help. We just all have the set of tools that we have. And it doesn't matter if it's your primary care or an orthopedic or a cardiologist or a oncologist, whoever you're working with, if you don't feel heard, find another opinion. And at the end of the day, understand the tools that they can bring you. And I would urge anyone who's been through surgery, whether it's from breast cancer, whether it's from a C-section, whether it's a broken leg or an ankle or a toe, find a myofascial release practitioner. We know how to help you heal after that surgery and gain access to your body where it may be limited right now and you may not even realize it.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Thank you for saying that. And then now I want to let you advertise. Tell the people about you. Tell them how to find you if they're interested in services that you offer or anything that we've talked about and they want more information. Where can they find you? How do they look you up? give it, let it
Yay,
fly.
super. Thank you so much. So my website is northgamfr.com. So that's Northga, like the abbreviation for Georgia. M as in M&M's, F as in Frank, R as in Riley.com. They can log right onto my website. They can see my story, see all the points about Myofascial Release and book directly. Or I'm absolutely happy for people to call me directly, 678-262-8843. If I'm in the session, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Text is even better.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Y'all, I'll be sure to list the things that Alex just pinpointed, like her website, in the description of the episode, so you can quickly navigate over to her and get her, get in touch with her if you need it, or learn more about her story if you want to. Alex, thank you so much for hopping on here with me today. This was fun. I learned so much, honestly. And that's all I ever really hope to get out of this. So I know that if I got that out of it, someone else will. Someone hopefully hears this that needs to hear it. Whether it's about healthcare or not, maybe it's about filling your own cup. Maybe it was that moment where I was like, "Whoa, okay, I'm awake now." Like, it was a long night, so I've been struggling a little bit today. But once you said that, like, it just, something clicked in my head, and I thought, wow, I do need to fill my own cup up. So maybe someone heard something like that. Maybe someone heard something about jumping on the horse. Maybe you've been off the horse for a while and you want to get back on it, both figuratively and literally. So I hope you had a good time, and I hope that somebody learns something and just prioritizes them. I think that's the kind of overarching kind of subject here, is that you need to learn how to prioritize yourself and speak up for yourself when you are in need of care.
Yeah, that's so important, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share about it, and that you're creating space for those of us in the entrepreneur sphere to get our message out there and get to the people we want to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. So, guys, again, I'll throw Alex's stuff in the description so you can access her. I'll throw her socials, anything that you can do to get in touch with her, her number, all of that stuff will be available to you in the description. Thank you to Fireworks for hosting me, and for StreamYard for hosting me and Alex on the interwebs. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend and their week ahead. So take care, everyone.